we've got a penny hunt for you today. So I have 4 bundles of pennies that I've picked up. Actually, 4 bundles plus 1 roll. There's actually 11 in this bundle here. And this is actually a combination. This is a set I got from one branch, and then I just picked up a few more. And I've actually gone through a few of these, and I know there's some good stuff in there. So it's kind of random. Some of them are chock full of stuff. Some of them just have random 1940s and 30s right in the middle. But lots of good stuff. And then I'm going to turn this into a book filler. So I have picked up 2 Whitman books. That was not really my intention. I was actually trying to update my very old Canada 1 cent album, which is just very cheap pages here, has nothing on it. But you know, there's good and bad about this. So the new Whitman books that I picked up, also pretty cheap, but they have all the mintages and stuff in them. Let's actually come back to that one. So this is the number 1 from 1920 to 1988. And you can see I've filled in everything here already with what's in my collection, all the way up to 1988. And so I'm just missing a few at the beginning there. The problem with these is twofold. One is that they you can't see the obverse, which is frustrating, whereas you can with that cheap book that I have. Or if you get some of the more expensive books, then of course they're set up that way so you can see the obverse as well. And the second thing is they almost never have all the variations in them, and that's certainly the case in this book. This is missing a bunch. It's missing the 48s, some of the variations in the 48s, the 49 small bead. It's missing, what else? And the 65, the pointed 5, doesn't have the pointed 5 variety in here. It just has the small beads and large beads. And there's a few others that it's missing from this, but it's got most of them in this series, with a few exceptions. But it's the 2000, or the book 2 that's really the problem. Book 2 has tons of stuff missing from it. So it runs from 1989, and this one actually goes up to 2010, and then I've added 2011 and 2012 in there. They're also mislabeled. These are not Ps. They are both RCM, so the 2008 would be both with an RCM mint mark on the back or on the obverse. Just one's magnetic and one's not. So anyway, I've kind of edited the book to fit. But then there's just so many more varieties here. I think it's only got 2 spots for the 2006s, and there are 6 different ones that you can be looking for in the 2006s, including a couple of very expensive ones. Same with 2003. There's only 3 spots, and there's actually 6 different ones. There's a 2001 or 2000 that variety, and there's a 2001 variety. Again, pretty rare. They're not in here either. So anyway, so I didn't move my stuff over for this book. I've just left it in here because I've kind of got it set up properly. So looking for the stuff that I'm missing in some of these modern pennies here as far as magnetic and non-magnetic. So I'm going to continue to work on this to complete my collection. But I thought, you know what, let's fill up the book and I'll order another one. I've got another one on order of the book 1. And so I will set those aside as I'm going through. And then, of course, we have book 2, which we can just kind of fill in as we go. So I'm looking forward to go through this. We'll see how many boxes it's going to take. We've got most of a box here, and then I've got a couple more boxes, and we'll kind of keep track. So we'll count this as pretty much a box, as I've gone through a bunch of stuff already. But anyway, it's close enough. So yeah, so I think we're ready to go here. Let's get this started, and I will bring you in after the first bundle. I'm going to start with this bundle of 11, and unless I find a roll that's really interesting, I'll bring you in at the end and show you exactly what we managed to pull out. So.
Let's just have a good time, live a good life. What you mean when you say you a new heights? What you mean when you play like all night? Nightlife is a highlight. I'm a fly guy, this is skyline. I don't got the time for my problems. I got the time to dissolve them. Music is my oxygen, I'm breathing, no stopping. You remember my oxygen, the music when it's dropping. Some of these vibes provided in these lines. I am to design the rhyme, checking my mind. Music be described, I got ahead of my time. Deeply prescribed, cause I feed it full of lines. Money ain't nothing, you turn it into something. But something for the money make you look real funny. Put my own name in discussion, I'm a hustler. Working real hard to show you that I'm coming, yeah. Let me tell you that it's going.
Well, I know I said I would bring you in after the first bundle, but I thought I'd just bring you in quickly on this. This actually is a whole roll of 2010s. There was maybe a couple of 2011s I saw in here, but it's pretty much all 2010s. So I'll go through, check for the magnetic and non-magnetic versions, and pull out the best example of each, and we'll move on to the next. All right, so I'm on to my 10th roll. Remember, there was 11 in this bundle to start with, and I've got one roll here which I just started to dump out, and I stopped because I can see some interesting stuff in this roll already. There's a couple of King George VI there for sure. Let me just switch hands here. Oh, I can see a wheat cent there. Oh, looks like another wheat cent. Yeah, so lots of interesting stuff in this roll. This is the first of these rolls, which is all these ones that are all taped. So hopefully, now as I said, I did go through a few of them and they were kind of a mix. I saw a couple rolls like this that I found in the ones that I went through, and then some of them just had kind of a bunch of random stuff in them. So we'll see what we get, but I'll come back to this in a second. I just kind of want to show you where I am at with the rest of the stuff. So those other bundles, which came from a different bank, they had a real mess of stuff. Like a lot of the coins were in kind of rough shape, but it was obvious that they'd been organized. So they kind of started off at around 2011 and slowly worked their way down into the 80s and 90s here. So I've kind of pulled the best that I could find out of each so far. So I've got a bit of a start here. A couple varieties of the 2002, a couple varieties of the 2003, just the one 2006. I do have some RCM ones that I found. This is the no mint mark, probably non-magnetic. Yeah, non-magnetic. I did find some RCM mint mark, but they're fairly common. So there's just a few in the 2006 that you need to watch for. A couple of 2011, so one magnetic, one non-magnetic. Same with the 2009. This is probably the 2011, 2012, there's like 300 million of each of these made of the 2011s, and I think even more of the 2012s. 2009 is one of the more common varieties. So the 2009 magnetic. It's hard to find, but not as hard to find as some of the other varieties in the other dates. So nice that I found that kind of right off the bat, and then hopefully I can find a little bit better quality of some of these, especially like this 2002. I'm sure I'll find better. And then I just pulled the nice of the 80s and 90s that I found in there. So just kind of some placeholders for now, and then I've got a few back in the 60s. So, and a 49 and a 50. So let's get into these and see what we find here. So we got a King George right off the bat. Oh, we got a couple of them by the looks of it. So we got 1942, 1942. We got 1950 wheat cent. There's a Younghead 1962, 1962, 41, 64 wheat cents. So let's just go through. There's lots of good stuff in here. Let's see if anything really kind of exciting jumps out. You know, normally you go through these and you'd be excited to find any of these in a roll. 42, some more wheat cents. There's 51D, 51, 48, another wheat cents, 43, another King George. So lots of 1940s. We got 1953 wheat cent there, another wheat cent, 42 wheat cent, 56, another wheat cents, 45, 38, 1938 wheat cent. Another one here, 44, 57 is King George, and this is some kind of random, it's 1949, random 19, oh wow, it's actually 1962. I'll keep that, set that aside. It might improve what I've got in my book there. What else we got here? So 1947 wheat cent and the 1948 in the Canadian pennies. So that's a nice roll. Make for some pretty decent stacks here. So I'll stack those up and I'll pull you back in if there's anything interesting in that next one. So roll 11, and looks like more of the same with this one. So you can see there's some nice old stuff in there. So I'll go through this and bring you in at the end and let you know what we found. Okay, so that's what I got out of that last roll. So that was roll 11. So I got a nice 63 and a 62 there on top. So those will probably end up in the book unless I find something nicer. You can see all the way down here, 50s into the 40s, right back to 43. 44 is a semi-key date, a little bit lower mintage on that one. Nice to get those. And then we got a bunch of wheat pennies as well. So the stack of 50s, some 40s, got two 30s, a 1935, I believe that is, and a 1939. They're both pretty slick. And then we got a 1924 as well. So some nice finds in that roll. And I will bring you in on the next one. Hopefully they're not all like that, or this will be a 2-hour video. So, well, actually, it would be nice if they're all like that. I'll have to figure out a better way to do this if they're all like that, though. All right, on to the next. Well, I just pulled out the next roll, and it's more of the same. So I will go back to my original plan and I'll just bring you in at the end of the bundle. It's going to make for some pretty massive stacks, and I'll just stack them up on here and you'll kind of see how the stacks are growing at that point. If I find anything really interesting, I'll set it aside so that we can talk about it at the end of each bundle. All right, that second bundle is down and this is turning into a long hunt. But wow, look at the coins that we are pulling out of these rolls. Like, they're out of those last 10 rolls, I think there was maybe 2 that I didn't pretty much just keep everything that was in the roll. There was 2 of them that had a little bit more modern, kind of into the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But, you know, the rest of them were pretty much all like 60s and before, like early 60s and back into the 50s. So you can see here, this is my stack of wheat cents. So these are stacks of 20, and the top row is 50s wheat cents, 40s, 30s, and 20s, and then you can see all the Canadian coins here. And I am still trying to find, you know, complete runs of nice looking coins in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and 2000s as well. So I'm pulling those out, but there just haven't been very many in these rolls. See many stacks there, some pretty big stacks of the older 40s and 50s coins. And then I kept these out because these ones were a little bit special as I was going through. So we have a 1938, a 1939, and a 1933 King George V penny. These are pretty rare. You do not find these very often, so it's always nice to grab them. Now the 33 is a little bit higher mintage. I think if we look at the book here, they are going to be 1933 is about 12 million, so quite a few of them that were minted back then relative to the other ones, but you know, still very hard to find these days. And then we've got a bunch of wheat pennies, some older wheat pennies. So let's start down here at the bottom. You can see we got 1916, 17, 18, and 2 19s. We've also got a 1926, 27, 28, 29. We actually have a few of the 26s, and then we have 2 1909s. And I believe this one is really hard to make out here. Let's see how close we can get. I'm not sure. I thought there was a 1911 when I first looked at it, and then as I've looked at it closer, I thought it might have been a 1902. It's kind of hard to tell what that is, those last 2 digits. But anyway, really old coins there. Again, I'm going to check these all at the end for, you know, whether there's any key dates. I'm not totally up on my US coins, so I will double check that at the end. And I got a really nice 1963 here that I pulled out as well, so that will go into the book very likely. Yeah, so we've got some good stuff. All right, I don't want to make this video too long. I'm going to take some shots as I go through so you can kind of see the stacks growing, and we'll show those kind of in a time lapse towards the end, so you can kind of see as the stack grows, because I don't know if I'm going to run out of room here or not. I got 20 more rolls to go through, and if they're all like the last ones, it's going to take forever, and there's going to be a lot of stuff. But what a great hunt so far, right? We're only 21 rolls in. All right, on to the next. Well, looks like more of the same. That's just the very first roll out of there, and you can see we got lots of old coins. One more bundle down. We're 31 rolls in, and as you can see, we got lots of more stuff here. I'm going to throw that picture up, or those series of pictures up at the end, but you can see these are the interesting ones I pulled out. None of them are in great shape. 26, a 28, I believe, and a 20, and 2 29s. I don't know, is that a 22? Looks like maybe a 22. Can't get that to focus. I don't know. Yeah, there we go. 1922. 1939 in kind of rough shape, and then a really nice, well, not really nice, but a pretty decent looking 1957D. So I will check that against my book and see how that looks, if it replaces anything there. On to that last bundle. So 7 rolls left, and I just thought I'd bring you in just to show you that the rolls are, you know, mixed. There are some that are just solid pre-60s, and then there's others that have a real mix. So you got a 41, and then right behind is a 67, and then it looks like a, you know, an 88, and so there's, you know, quite a mix in this roll, and so they're kind of half and half. They're probably half that are really those all like just solid pre-60 stuff, and then rolls that are like this. But, you know, a lot of good stuff in here. I think most people would be happy just to get a roll like this, let alone some of the other ones I've been getting. So, well, we're done. So that is 41 rolls that I've gone through. It took a long time, probably about 3 hours, slogging through all this. You know, it was a pretty good mix of US and Canadian. You can see all of the US wheat cents over here, and it was pretty much all stuff that I'm going to keep. These wheat pennies, and then some good stacks of each of the dates. So I will go through all this in a second. I just wanted to kind of touch on my last few finds. So I did find another King George V. So that is the second one of the hunt, 1935. The other one was a 1933. So that's awesome. Happy to have found that. Not particularly rare again as far as mintage goes, but definitely difficult to find the King George V's. 1939, one of the earlier King George VI. And then in the wheat sense, we've got a 1920, a couple 1926s, two 27s, two 28s, and a 29. And then we got a 1913 and a 1914 and another 1909. So, you know, definitely got some nice old US wheat cents as well. And yeah, so what I'll do is I'm going to bring you back in shortly. For you, it'll be shortly. For me, it's probably going to be tomorrow. I'm going to go through all this, sort all this out, and then I will let you know if I found any varieties and just really kind of how much I've got here. So, all right, so as far as the book goes, I have kind of just lightly pressed these in, or not even really. I really didn't find a lot of the modern pennies, so I didn't really get like to pick the absolute best. And so, you know, some of them have some blemishes on them. They're not nearly as nice as I'd like them to be. And so I'm just not going to push them in here. Even the most modern ones, they're pretty good, but I bet you I can find better ones out of some normal rolls. And I've got a couple more boxes I can go through. So that'll be in the next video. But we did get a good start on these. And if I don't find better, then of course these will be good placeholders for now. But we'll certainly be able to improve these, I think, as time goes on. So then I will set aside the rest of the stuff. I'll just put it into a roll until I get the book. And then I'll go through all the old stuff and I'll tell you what I got. Okay, so it's actually the next morning. I think it was around 2:30 when I finished this up last night. And so I've gone through and organized these this morning and got a good idea of what I've got there. So you can see all the 60s, 50s, and 40s Canadian pennies in stacks. I'm going to come back to those in a sec. So this is just the roll of everything from 66 to 88. You know, the good placeholders. I don't have the book yet. Hopefully get it today or tomorrow. And I can start putting those in, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to find better than those anyway. So anyway, let's go through what we got with the Canadian stuff. So we did get both varieties of the 65, both the small bead and large bead 65. Didn't get a pointed 5 on the 65. There wasn't a spot in the book for them anyway, so that's fine. 64s, just kept a few. I had a few more, but I just kept the nicest of the bunch. And then we do have a hanging 4 as well. So I'll just throw that up on the screen here. So 64. And again, doesn't always show up well on the microscope right away unless you get the light right. But that is a hanging 4. Not a great example of it, but it does have the beginnings of the die clash there just on top of the 4. So yeah, I debated whether I was going to keep that one, but it's there. So that's the 64, and then down here is the 63. So these are stacks of 20. So you can see I've got a stack of 20 there, and another stack, almost full stack, with a decent looking one on top. And then I've got a bunch of the 63, hanging 63s. I'm not sure which is the nicest one. You can actually see this one with your naked eye. There's a really nice one there as well. Let's just throw these on the microscope. 63. So yeah, you can see the hanging. Oops, it showed up there. I got the light to come off it just right. So there's a 63, and then there's another 63 hanging 3, and that one's in really nice shape as well. So then the 62s, I have almost 80. Well, actually, I have over 80 if you count the hanging versions, but then I have a whole stack of the 62 hanging versions there. So I'm not going to show them all, for a super long video, but anyway, there's a couple stacks of 61s, so over 40 61s, and then there are 2 hanging versions of the 61. We've got almost a full stack of 60s, so it's about 18 or so 1960s, 1959s. We did get a couple 1959 hanging 9s, hanging 58, and a couple hanging 57s, and over 20 of the 1957s, 56 stack of 20, and this is 24 total, 25 total. We've got hanging 55, or no, sorry, that was the a shoulder fold and no shoulder fold. So we got the one no shoulder fold, I believe is what that is on the 50. Yeah, so that's a no shoulder fold on the 55. And the rest of them are the no shoulder folds. 54 didn't have any varieties there. 53 didn't have any of the more expensive varieties in the 53. There's a shoulder fold and no shoulder fold in that as well. And then 52 is a big stack of 51s or 50s, 49s. 48s I had the two varieties, so pointing at the denticle and just to the left of the denticle. So I got both varieties there. I don't have the small bead version. 47s. And then we got 47 maple leafs, and they're divided between the pointed 7 and the blunt 7 on the maple leaf variety. 46, and the rest there's no real varieties as you go back into these, but you can see some pretty decent stacks right back in the 1940s. And then really the stars of the hunt are the earlier ones. I got 3 1939s, got 38, a 1935 King George V, and a 1933 King George V. So those are always nice to find. And not, low mintage versions of these. I think there's like 12 million of these and 7 million of these that were minted. So, but, happy to have got the King George V ones as well. So I could set these up here, and then into the US, I have not gone through all these 40s and 50s. So there are some errors and varieties that I can be looking for. I have not gone through them all yet. If I find anything exciting, I'll maybe throw those in a future video showing what I've pulled out of the that stack of 40s and 50s. I did go through the earlier stuff though, so you can see here I've got from 1939 all the way down. I did check the 36s for the DDO, and they did not have any. 34s, there's some pretty decent stacks of them. They're all fairly slick. There was none that really stood out as being really, really great quality as far as their grading goes. But you see 24s, 23s, 1920s, some 1919s. 18, I did check that. 1917 for the DDO, it's not there. 1916, 14, 13. And then the 1909s. So, whoops, I just put this one down here. So there's actually, this is the first year of the Wheat Penny. And so I've got 1909 regular, and then I have a VDB. So that was nice to find in there. And I'll just throw that, up on the microscope so you can see. Yeah, I grabbed the wrong one there. So this is actually the one with the VDB on the bottom. You can probably see it on camera. If I get it under the light, you can just see, whoops, get my finger back. Just see, get that camera to focus there. There it is, right there. Don't even have to put it up on the scope. So yeah, so we did get a 1909 VDB. First year of the Wheat Penny. And yeah, so that's a great haul of pennies. Like, look at all those early 1919s, 1920s, and 1930s US wheat pennies. Stacks and stacks of the 1940s and 50s, which I will go through, making sure I don't miss any errors. And then some major stacks of the 1960s and 1950s and 1940s Canadian pennies. So, awesome haul. These are the stars of the show. That, and I think that VDB, and maybe, some of these hanging ones as well. A couple of them in pretty good shape. So, happy to have got this. Thank you so much for coming along with me. If you like the video, if you like the content, if you enjoy watching these massive hunts, they are quite a beast to do because there's so much to look for. It take me hours and hours to go through all these. So please do like and subscribe, and I'll try and bring more content out for you like this. I do have a few more boxes, so we're going to finish up the, or we'll keep working on the book filler, and I'll show you the progress in the next video. So, all right, take care, everybody, and you'll have a great day.